Hey guys, so let me first come out and say I like guns. I follow a lot of gun channels on YouTube and on VidMe. I love watching how different guns perform, learning how they function, the evolution of firearms throughout the ages. I find them fascinating from a mechanical standpoint, and some of them are just gorgeous. The the 1860 Colt revolver is so beautiful. That also being said, I am in the UK, and well, actually firearm laws in the UK get very complicated. It's easier to have a blanket statement and say no, we don't really have guns here, because we don't. Even the standard police officers in the UK don't have firearms. So I am a foreigner commenting on what's going on in America. But it happens a lot in America, and more people need to be saying the same things in order for everyone else to actually start listening. Now, there's a lot of different reasons people put out there for actually owning a gun, whether it's self-defense, it's a shooting club, whatever. I mean, realistically, there's only one reason you would ever need to actually own a gun, and that's really simple. You like guns. That's good enough. That's easy enough. Responsible adult likes guns, proven they're safe with guns, have a gun. Why not? Unfortunately, there's too many people in America who aren't responsible, and these are the people why checks need to be put in place, why legislation needs to be put in place. One of the former presidents, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, said anyone who would choose safety over freedom deserves neither. Probably paraphrasing that. But this isn't that kind of situation. You don't give up a gun just to be safe and therefore you don't have freedom. This is putting in place very, very simple, reasonable gun restrictions that a lot of countries have. There is so much gun crime in America that a lot of it goes unpublicized because it's just so common practice. They have guns in the rest of Europe. They have guns in Canada. They have guns in South America and throughout Africa. And yes, there is gun crimes in all of these countries, but there aren't to the grotesque levels of gun crime. Now, some people are getting in a twist because they want to limit the amount of ammunition you can have in a clip or in a magazine, saying that you don't need over 10 rounds to go hunting. And no, you don't need more than 10 rounds to go hunting. If you need more than 10 rounds, you're not good enough to go hunting. Stop having a gun out in public, go back into the range and get good. You do not need more than 10 rounds. Now, I'm not going to name any names because I do enjoy the channel. I do enjoy the content of this particular gun channel on VidMe. But this person came out and said that it's not about the hunting. It's about the Second Amendment and having the potential to defend yourself against a government that could turn tyrannical. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, reading the full thing, is the right to bear arms in a well-regulated and legal militia. Such a thing hasn't actually existed in American history. So you can make the argument that no, it's completely null and void and you don't have that right. Personally, I'm not going to go down that road because if you're a capable adult, yeah, have a gun. But even in the situation where you're fighting off your own government, you don't need more than 10 rounds. And while we're on the topic of fighting off your own government, well, who's protecting school children from ICE officials? A branch of the government that stories have come out where they've gone into schools to take children to kick them out of the country. Or they've gone to courthouses looking for people to evict from the country, and in fact going up to the wrong people sometimes and harassing them just because they fit that ethnic group to harass? How about when the President of the United States mocks the armed forces and insults the armed forces at every single turn? When they take away the healthcare system, when they shut down funding for Planned Parenthood, when every bit of evidence says that Planned Parenthood has done absolutely nothing wrong. Yes, the Republican government is attacking the people, but the people aren't fighting back with violence, and nor should they. Instead, you should be fighting back with protests, peaceful protests, and working to get the monsters who dictate what happens in the country out of places of power. It's very simple. When it comes down to it, you're not John Wick, you're not Rambo. You're not going to have an M60 or an M15 or an AUG. You're not going to be taking on hordes of nameless baddies. If you get into that situation, you are a human being shooting at another human being. Realistically, it's just not going to happen. But where sensible gun control does come in, well, it's actually very, very, very simple that it doesn't infringe on most people's rights. For example, the recent Vegas shootings. The state of Vegas recognized that the individual didn't have mental capacity over his own finances. So why the bloody hell was he allowed to have a firearm? That is nonsensical, and it puts everyone at risk. Sensible adults have guns. Fine, you can argue about the semantics all you want, but if you're a reasonable adult, you're sensible, you're proven to be sensible, have a gun. Fine. I'm okay with that, because that's how it works in all the other countries. But someone who cannot, and who is recognized by the state that they cannot control their own finances, they don't have that mental capacity, they should never be allowed to have a firearm. Same as if you were on the terrorist watch list. Now, I know some people end up on that watch list and there's no reason for it, but here's how you get around that. You apply for the license, it comes back, oh no, you can't have it because of this, this and this, and then you find out and you resolve that issue. Then you get a gun. When you go through all these steps, how many people's lives will you be saving? It's not about stripping away everything that makes America America. It's about taking sensible steps to ensure that you, your children, your neighbours, your brothers, your sisters, your mothers, your fathers aren't put at risk because some nitwit who shouldn't be allowed a gun has been given an arsenal. It's not too much to ask. As I said at the start, I like guns. I follow a lot of the gun channels. I like seeing people shooting the guns on YouTube and on VidMe, and I watch the reviews and everything else. And I wouldn't normally comment on something like this. It's a foreign country with a policy that only affects that foreign country. If I'm going to comment on politics, it's going to be things that I think will affect the rest of the world. So what happens in the American economy, well, that affects the rest of the world because we're based on that. If Donald Trump drags the US into another war, well, that affects my country because England has always stood behind America. When the whole monstrous act of going into Iraq happened, Tony Blair dragged us along with it. So if a fight starts out between America and North Korea or anywhere else, whether it's Theresa May or the next person to take her seat, we will be right there along with the Americans. And it's insane. But this one is something that happens so often. There's so much gun crime in America. It just doesn't need to be. Yes, I know I'm in a country that doesn't really have guns, but America's gun problem to a large degree can be solved with very, very sensible checks. If you will fight tooth and nail to be able to shoot 1,000,000 rounds without bloody reloading, well, that comes down to a local issue. I don't agree with it, but that's up to you. I think if you were going to have something like that, then you should only actually have it on a range. Or if you want to shoot military grade weapons, be part of the military. But when it comes down to someone who is mentally unstable, no, there is nothing you could possibly say that would justify that person having a gun. Nothing.